Hello again, people at home and around the world, live from the Mobian stage. Paul Gabriel on my left. I'm Louis Tucci here for the ZBrush Summit 2022. We've had a cavalcade of a morning. We got to the tooth of the matter. Both Dr. Zhivago and Dan Katcher bringing us, what?
That was a good one.
That was a good one, right? The tooth of the matter.
Louis ready to go, people.
I'm on fire. I've waited years to come back to do this. Here we are.
Revved up.
How you feeling? You feel good?
I feel great. I'm really excited for this next one because it's one of those special ones I said we've never done before at the ZBrush Summit.
A lot of people don't get a chance to do what we're about to do. We are going to take the show on the road, and I am so elated to do this with our foreign correspondent. I was going to say our foreign correspondent. No, our on-location correspondent and fellow ZBrush team member, Ian Robinson, is waiting for us to go live from Sideshow Collectibles in Thousand Oaks, California. Unheard of, unprecedented, and never before done.
Yeah.
I don't think.
On location. We're going to give you now Sideshow here in a second here. We're going to put Sideshow on camera for you all.
You're going, it's not pre-recorded. You're going live, live. Paul, let me just pause.
Yes.
I'm looking at you, looking at me, looking at them. This is a live presentation that goes through behind the veil of creativity at one of the world's leading IP companies. They make the most glorious collectibles that are collected the world over. And we're going to see the very special process and procedures that go into making your favorite collectibles with our own Ian Robinson. And so without further ado, I guess I'm going to hand it over to Ian Robinson on location on behalf of myself, Louis Tucci, and Paul Gabriel here in the Mobian studio. Let's take it over to Ian.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Ian Robinson. Hello, I am here with Matt Bischoff. Matt, pleasure.
Ian, pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Dude, thank you for having us because this space here is amazing.
A little trippy, huh?
Yeah, as a fellow artist, this is like insane to just look at everything and everything that Sideshow is, but there are people out there who don't know what Sideshow is about. Could you go over a little bit of what Sideshow is as a company and what you do here?
Yeah, Sideshow connects fans with the characters they love. We do that through a number of different products, through various formats and styles. And I am the VP of Development and Manufacturing here at Sideshow.
Nice.
And I get to oversee this fun house as far as the development end of it and create this cool stuff.
So you see everything. Like you oversee it all. That's
stuff I can tell you about.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
That's fair. That's perfect. Well, could we see some of those statues?
Yeah, let's check it out.
The audience is going to want to see that
let's
for
do
sure.
that.
Perfect. Okay, you look at this Deadpool over here. Yeah, it's like my favorite character.
Oh, right on.
So before we get too crazy, you guys have a demo reel, right? A little something to show. Could we show that real quick before we get down to the fun aisle?
Yeah.
Our pop culture has the power to bring diverse communities together. It's a bridge that connects us, its characters and their stories, sparking our imaginations and igniting our ambitions. From heroes to villains to creatures, we celebrate beloved icons of cinema, television, gaming, and comics through our licensed and original collectible products. Sideshow's mission is in creating highly detailed statues, posable figures, fine art prints, and prop replicas. At the core of Sideshow is a team of passionate artists and fans dedicated to celebrating our favorite characters and universes, old and new. We're inspired to create pop culture fine art and to push the limits of what's been done before through our unique product development processes and original content creation. The Sideshow website has also grown into the premier destination for curated items from pop culture companies around the globe. We are more than just a creative company or a traditional distributor. We give fans access to an extensive catalog of hand-picked, high-end collectibles. We understand that being a pop culture fan isn't just a hobby, it's also a lifestyle. That's why we immerse ourselves in pop culture news, delivering accessible and interactive content to the community on a variety of digital platforms. In the end, we are a group of geeks, a small part of an ever-growing global community, eagerly sharing and celebrating our pop culture with every type of fan. And every day, we are proud to let our geek side show.
All right. So as you can see, just that reel on its own is super amazing. And so, I mean, Matt, dude, this is such an honor.
Right?
So yeah, something else. So let's take a look at a few of these
let's do it.
pieces. Yeah, let's go through here. Honestly, the one that sticks out the most right out the gate has to be that Joker.
Oh,
Can you tell me about that Joker a little
Yeah.
bit? Because it's one of my favorite DC villains.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a lot of people's favorite DC villains.
Yeah, it looks pretty badass.
So look at this detail. I mean, so tell us a little bit about this. Who did this piece?
Martin Canali.
Oh, Martin, awesome.
got down.
We're gonna be talking to him in a little bit.
cool.
Yeah,
Right on.
yeah. And wow, yeah. And so this is like telling a story. And
Telling the story of the Joker, and this is the vision of the Joker, how he wants people to see him as this
Yeah.
evil entity, but the history of the Joker is inscribed all over the character's
which
body.
for me, storytelling in statue form, so hard to do, but when it pulls it off, you guys do it the best. I mean,
Thank you so
come on,
much.
It's super
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
No, that's super
such
wicked.
a compliment. Thank you.
And so I mean, looking at everything you guys could see here, I'm getting goosebumps. It's just being here. It's crazy. But this Wakanda piece right here, I mean, the detail, the level that it's on another world.
Yeah.
And is there anything you can talk about this piece?
Raphael Phillips did this one. He got down with one of our PMs, and they scoured through all the reference to get all the finite details on the costume.
Wow.
And when you get up close to that thing, it's insane.
Yeah, as a fellow 3D print guy, this would be insane to
Yeah.
even get manufactured.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's super awesome to
Yeah.
see the detail. And, then you have Thor over here.
Yeah.
That's Danny Bell, correct?
Danny Bell, Thor
And,
top surter.
I mean, wow. How heavy is that? Is it?
Give it a shot.
It's yeah. Okay, here you go, Ian. Breaking
Oh, no,
stuff.
Ian, don't.
Oh my gosh,
Don't do it,
that
Ian.
is crazy.
Don't do it,
heavy.
Ian.
That's
Don't do it, Ian.
crazy.
Don't do it,
Wow, that's insane. All right, but no, they're just super, super amazing.
Yeah, thank
Raphael
you.
Phillips is
I mean,
also presenting with us.
so when did you start here?
So I started here about 14 and a half years ago, and I started in the graphics department doing 2D design work. And then I parlayed my previous background to Sideshow from the medical industry and production manufacturing, and kind of enveloped into the position I'm in now,
Wow, that's really,
combining
really
art
cool.
and manufacturing together.
And so you're surrounded by this every single
All
day.
day.
Yeah.
Very lucky, very fortunate, very blessed.
Wow. Paul Louie, are you seeing this?
Oh, you
'Cause,
better
I
believe
mean,
it.
You better.
Come on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
mean,
I
just
want
like,
to point out, too, that Raphael Phillips is going to be presenting with us
All over the place.
on the
yes,
last.
Raphael Phillips is going to be presenting.
And we got Danny Bell.
And Danny Bell, and Danny Bell. We got
And
two.
Danny Bell.
Yeah, both those guys are presenting.
And Mark too. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I just had to point out real quick too, that crow piece right there. That's like my childhood coming out.
Yeah.
My parents would yell at me every time they saw me watching
Get a
this
closer
movie.
look at that guy.
But yeah, can we get a closer look at this? I mean, yeah. See,
That's a
Mama
mix-
did it.
It's a
Look
mixed
at
media
It was
piece.
super cool. It was a super cool piece. Who did this piece? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my
It's
head,
okay,
but
you
it's a
know what?
mixture of a couple artists, because
Yeah.
that one is cut and sew fabric as well as sculpture, all combined into one giant
Wow,
piece. So.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
And we have a few other pieces here we'd really like to show you. Before we start, maybe possibly, I was talking to Matt here and saying, like, I'd like to meet some artists, and he's like, man, so we'll see. But this one right here, Red Sonia, Steve Lord, right?
Yes, sir.
Take a look at this. Super amazing, intricate detail. I mean, Paul Louie, you guys, like, what do you guys
I'm
think?
flabbergasted. I'm taken aback. The whole thing, the very fact that we're walking down this haloed corridor with you on location is mind-boggling. I'm sure the people at home are really having the time of their lives. Keep it going, Ian.
Absolutely. Well, we also have this Red Riding Hood, right?
Red Riding Hood.
And can you tell me a little bit about this piece in particular?
Yeah, so this piece is from the J. Scott Campbell Fairy Tale Fantasies line that we've worked with J. Scott on. And this is his rendition from his 2D art, worked with Steve Shoemaker to do a 3D iteration of it. So taking that 2D art, transitioning it to 3D, and the line speaks for itself. It's beautiful.
That's
Ian, ask
awesome.
them about the challenges
Thank
of
you.
working with multiple artists on one piece.
So I'm actually getting a question in from Louie. So the challenges with working with multiple artists on one piece, how is that?
It's a fun experience. The collaboration is amazing.
Yeah.
You get the best of both worlds. You get some amazing debates, and you get some amazing solutions.
Yes.
And that results in the art we see here. But like anything that has passion behind it, you're going to have passionate people.
Absolutely.
And, it's a great process. It's fun.
Well, speaking of passionate people, if I convinced you in my time being here that you can let me meet a couple of these artists that make such magical pieces.
Are you ready to meet those guys?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Way to go.
So
Ian.
we're gonna
Taking us
go
back there
into-
behind the curtain.
An amazing spot. Like, just real quick, have to say it. You're going to be blown away by what's in this room. All right. So already our first artist. Hello, my name's Ian. How are you? Who are you?
I'm Matthew Black.
Awesome. Pleasure to meet you. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do here at Sideshow?
Well, I'm a digital sculptor. Sculpt all the fun stuff we make, all the products you see in the hallway.
Nice. And what are you working on now? Because it looks really intense.
This is a DC Scarecrow premium format figure.
Nice.
Sculpted a couple years ago, so I pulled it up so we can show it off, take a look at it.
Look at those details.
that- hold
we're
that
showing
for-
Ian
wow.
right now. We're showing them all of Matt's screen at this moment.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's looking really amazing. So, I mean, the level of detail, how long does it take usually to produce a piece like this?
It could vary so wildly with every piece. I mean, me and the art director, we just grabbed a scythe and we went outside and we did a bunch of pose studies to try to come up with a pose. And that took a little while to narrow down like what we wanted to show this character doing, how we
Yeah.
wanted to depict him. So we locked something in and then we submit it to licensor, get it approved, and then start blocking it out based on kind of the fun we have outside playing around with scythes and sickles.
So cool.
That sounds super wild. How long have you been using ZBrush?
It's been around 10 years. I mean, I started in the industry sculpting all wax and clay and everything else, and then ZBrush started taking over the industry, and I wanted to get in and learn it and see what it had to offer. So it's been fun, 10 years.
Wow, that's super amazing.
Starting to almost get the hang of it. I think I might be.
I could help
Getting
you
okay.
with that. I happen to be a guy who helps people learn ZBrush a little bit more. But also, too, I mean, do you have a favorite brush that you think maybe some of the people in the audience would be like, oh, Matt uses this brush?
I do like the Form Soft brush for like wrinkles and clothing, things like this.
Yeah.
Getting kind of a little bit more natural shapes with clothing. The Form Soft is great for that. I obviously get a lot of subdivision levels, so you can do stuff at a lower level and then build it back up and refine it with Dam Standard and Form Soft. And then I really like to UV map a lot of the surfaces, so you can get this has a wide variety of different fabric surfaces, try to make it look like it was kind of patchwork, patched together out of lots of different types of like burlaps and canvases and
That's so
things
cool.
like that. UV mapping is great for stuff like that.
Absolutely. I mean, and the level of detail that you're being able to showcase today, and this is the standard in which Sideshow's known for, is just truly amazing.
Yeah, really
Thanks.
cool desk
We
area
try.
you got there, by the way.
Try to get every little nook and cranny as detailed as possible, going into the skin and getting skin textures and fabric
Yeah.
textures, hair textures.
So do you like to go outside and play with dangerous toys so that you can pose and make sure it's right?
I think it's helpful every single time we're exploring composition to actually feel what it's going to feel like. So you want to try to even during the process, I'll get up and try to mimic the pose just to feel what your muscles are doing.
Yeah.
Especially with a weird complex pose like this where somebody's really rearing back with a weapon. You got to feel the weight of it.
Yeah.
So it's always helpful, no matter what the project is, just to get into the pose or see somebody in the pose and then photograph them and then have that as reference while you're sculpting it.
That's so amazing. And what would you say maybe has been one of your favorite or more fun projects you've worked on since you've been with Sideshow?
That's a tough question. I mean, I think one of the earliest projects I worked on was a Jack Sparrow premium format figure a long time ago. And I think that probably stands up still as being one of the most fun projects just because of the weight distribution and it has a lot of accessories I got to sculpt and lanterns. It's such a wide variety of stuff. That was fun. I mean, God, putting me on the spot. I think all of them have different unique challenges for every project. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fun just to make toys, make shapes.
Absolutely. Now, you brought up UVs when using, going through and making details and stuff. Is that something that you kind of developed along your way when implementing ZBrush in your workflow, or is it just kind of something that you've really just decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to do this?
It's something, I mean, working house amongst a bunch of talented artists, you see other people doing stuff, like, how did you do that? And then, you pick each other's brains, show each other techniques, different ways to use the program. You really kind of feed off each other's very hive mentality.
That's so
It's
awesome.
it's something that I liked incorporating that I've seen other people do, and
Learn from
Question
others.
coming
Yeah,
in.
yeah, it's great working around
online when you get
so many talented people.
Oh, we have a question coming in. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so
Right.
they were wondering, how does he start his models off? Is he just using low poly sub D, or is he going right into Dynamesh?
So the audience wants to know: do you start from low poly sub-D, or like, how do you start your process when you're coming in?
I mean, I've been working with wax for so long. I try to use the program as much like wax and clay as possible. So I'll start with just big dynameshed forms and then just fuse them together and then start building a figure out of dynamesh, as much like clay as possible. And then I'll start projecting it onto meshes and getting subdivision levels so I can play around with forms like global forms and tweaking the pose in low polygons and then building more and more layers of detail on top of that.
Wow. Now, I see you have such an amazing environment that goes with the piece. Do you also do a lot of reference for your environment works? You can maybe go down to the graveyard and say, hey, how does a tombstone look?
It doesn't hurt. I have a lot. I spend a lot of time. If I'm just walking around in nature or out with family, I'll just see something like that's a great texture. Let me just stop real quick and take a picture of it. If it's like a rusty mailbox or anything, like just snap a quick picture and then file it away for later use. I mean,
You never know what's going to come in
yeah,
handy.
you might be walking on the sidewalk and see just a particularly interesting piece of sidewalk that you want to mentally reference later, or particular gravestone motif that might come in handy. And the headstone on this piece was really fun part of the project, designing like all the angels around the base and then this memento mori motif.
Yeah.
Kind of right up my alley.
That was so cool. And every day you come in here because you're one of the artists that come on site every single day. Do you get inspired as you walk the hallways and see other artists work, and you're just surrounded by it? I mean, your whole desk is just like...
We're always peeking over each other's shoulders or exchanging techniques or tips that we just learned, or we have a chat going like, hey, try this out next time. Or intersection masking is another subject that just came up in our chats, and like we all want to get on it and see how we can implement it into our workflow.
No, that's super awesome. Paul, Louis, what are you guys thinking right now?
I think on behalf of Paul and myself, I'm not going to speak for Paul, but I know we're just sitting here looking at each other with our mouths open right now as they're turning the camera on this Jason Todd. A special hello to Matt. That piece is
Another
really
fun aspect of this piece is it's the first Robin we ever did.
Really?
And it just happened to be, a nightmare version of Robin.
Oh, wow. That's the first Robin.
First appearance of Robin in Sideshow's catalog.
Wow.
I got to
coming out from where
The
is he?
details are
Stuff
just
them into the
insane,
base.
what Matt's put on this. It's just crazy.
We've done other Robins since then, but the first one was
Another
just
question
nightmare
coming through.
version of
Ian, when you got
Okay.
Scarecrow's base. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. We have another question. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, does he work with default UI, or does he have his own custom setup?
Okay. Oh, that's a good question. So, Matt, do you work with the default UI, or do you customize it to your flavor?
I just use it right out of the box.
Right out of the box.
I've tried customizing here and there,
Yes.
but like switching back and forth sometimes between working at home and then working in the office, you just it just gets confusing. I just like it straight out of the box, actually.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, especially since, I'm going over it all the time. Like you said, back and forth, home office to physical office. Yeah, it's
Gets
it
a
helps.
Louis
You don't have
Tucci
to
vote of
keep
approval on that one, too,
Yeah,
Ian.
I just like the way it is.
Louis Tucci says, yeah, that's awesome. Good job.
I've seen people working in just like the startup wax too, like forever. Like they're still using the startup red wax, and it's like that's the only part I customize. I change my material. I'm good enough with that.
Okay, that's really awesome. So, Paul, Louis, any more audience questions? What is the consensus right now? Because it has to be amazing. Because honestly, me being here, it's such an honor, and I'm just blown away by everything that I'm seeing right now.
I think everything.
Honor
They're
is
really,
all ours.
The guys are
Fun.
at the forefront of a
Fun
cultural
showing off
phenomenon.
cool stuff.
So the detail that he's managed to capture on that piece, especially with the various shifts in material composition, and even that sort of the one arm that's in the back part of the character holding the scythe with the ripped cloth, that's phenomenal. It just stands out. You can see the body protruding through there.
Yeah. That's
How many
super wonderful.
sub-tools is it?
How many sub-tools do you got going on there?
This one ended up being 49 individual pieces for
Wow.
this one project.
49 visual pieces.
Is that usually where he sits on most of his
49. I mean, we have to go through and cut and key every single piece, like this part. Even the leg just has like the fabric keyed in,
Right.
Yeah.
just so we can get a nice undercut in here.
Now, I know every statue is super unique, of course, but would that be your normal amount of sub-tools per project?
It's probably pretty standard because we like to have, a lot of storytelling going on in the base too. So I think even the base is probably half of those subtools or more. We got
Wow.
individual pieces of smoke, and then the tombstone breaks down into, I think, 5 or 6 pieces.
So how did you approach the smoke? Because I know that's something that like I've struggled with from time to time. Don't tell anyone, guys.
It's impossible to sculpt elements like wind, water, fire. So everyone's got kind of their own design language for
Yeah.
those specific elements. And I like mine. I have a lot of twists and curling back on itself. So it's just the way I do it. And I wanted this to have like a kind of a nightmare look. So it's got little hooks and angles that are very unnatural to smoke.
So cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. And would you say you use maybe just like the move brush and just tug it around until you get what you're looking for?
Move, snake hook,
Snake
things like
hook.
that. And a lot of times I'll draw things out just with tubes.
Yeah.
Insert mesh tubes, and then move those around, and then dynamesh those and start twisting and pulling them into little shapes.
Wow, that's super.
I've sculpted a lot of things just out of the tubes.
Really?
Curved tube.
Awesome.
And like the rope on his neck, you can draw out a curve and then turn that into rope if you want, or chain, or anything. So
Yeah. Really, it really sky's the limit for
Yeah.
anything that you can do.
yeah, you can really just draw out a curve and then turn it into something later if you want.
Yeah. So a big question that I get a lot that I thought maybe I'd ask you is, you know, for somebody who's starting out wanting to get into collectibles or just the idea of making statues, but, you know, obviously there's a lot to learn, anatomy and such, but what would be a good, like, a little bit of a tip or advice on somebody starting out?
I've been asked this question so many times, and the first piece of advice I give to everybody is fall in love with the process only. The only thing that you get at the end of the day is the process, and if you love the process, then you're going to have an amazing career. Because, you know, commercial art's commercial art. Go home and make your own art if you want to make art, but just love the process as much as you can, because that's the most important part. It's
Yeah.
just really loving what you do. And I do.
That's
So
awesome.
I've never worked a day in my life.
That's so awesome.
It's great to see him. It's great to see him, and he's got a wonderful sweater. I like his sweater.
Yeah, Louis says, thumbs up on the sweater, man. Your
Can't go
dapper is
wrong with
amazing.
Captain Harlock.
He kept talking about maybe possibly teasing us with this full cosplay, but it didn't happen. So maybe one day we'll get him to.
He better get on that.
Yeah, better get.
I'm going to beat him to it.
We love
Well,
it.
you know, Halloween did pass, and you were talking about cosplay stuff. Do you do any cosplay on your own?
I think over half my wardrobe is cosplay at this point.
Yeah. No, that's super cool, man.
Chi-Chi's going to see some competition.
Oh,
I'll be
okay,
waiting.
cool. Do we have any other questions coming in from the chat, Paul, Louis? Do you guys have anything you want to ask, Matt?
Do I have any more answers?
You might. Never know.
That's the
Did he
important
design it from scratch, or did he get 2D references? Question that just came.
That's a good one.
Oh, that is a great question. Do you work off of reference, or do you design from scratch? Do they tell you the character, or do they say, here's the concept?
It all depends on what we're trying to achieve. I mean, with Scarecrow, I try to pull as much Scarecrow reference as possible. This one isn't really directly from the comic. The design motifs are kind of like, we all kind of have different input, things we want to see. So it's kind of an idealized, generalized version of DC's Scarecrow, but we try to pull the best elements of every incarnation to put that into the final version.
Okay, cool. Well, Matt, this has been just amazing. Thank you so much for letting us
Yeah,
come in
thank
and
you.
pick your brain, bother you while you're working here. This is
Trying to work.
I know, man. But seriously, just want to come
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you so much. It's such a
Meet you.
pleasure.
Thanks for coming by.
Absolutely. So as you can see here already, just with that, there's so much that happens here at Sideshow, and the fact that they use ZBrush to create pretty much most of what they work on is just fantastic.
Look at their
We have another
workspace.
artist.
Look at this workspace.
Yeah,
Hold on a
look at
second.
this workspace.
Holy
Yeah.
smoke.
You guys see
Can
this?
you imagine going to a place like that to work every morning,
Interior
Paul?
of the
We need,
Sulaco? Is
we need
that-
a
Yeah.
make
Is that what that is?
we need a makeover at our office. What's going on here? Where
All right,
is
go.
he?
Okay, we got lots of artists. Move on to the next artist.
Yeah. Well, so we do have another artist. You are?
Hi, I'm Alfred Paredes, and I am a sculptor here at Sideshow, and also in charge of engineering and file checks in ZBrush.
Wow. So how'd you get started working here?
I actually started as a traditional sculptor here,
Wait, hold on. Traditional sculpting?
clay and wax.
Wow, something very much like what you have up
Like
here. a
those
little
guys
bit.
there. Yeah, I actually still have wax in my cube for some reason that I haven't had to do in a long time, but it's still in here. And I was the last of the guys in the building to actually switch from traditional back to digital, or I should say, over to digital.
Yeah, so you're full digital now.
Now I am, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm newer. These guys have been doing it for a decade plus, and I'm more like 4 years into my digital journey. So I had to like speed it up.
So how did you get started in ZBrush then?
Well, it was mainly, the industry was changing. I mean,
Right.
when I started at Sideshow, I'd say we were like 80% traditional,
Yeah.
maybe 20% digital. And within like 2 years, it was like 95% digital. Like, I mean,
Wow.
it was so fast. And so I had to sort of start switching gears and say, like, all right, well, what are we going to do? And like, what do I need to do to make sure that we still have work here? And
Yeah.
learning ZBrush was a big part of that. But for me, it was difficult because I'm old school, 25 years of sculpting and clay and stuff, and having to switch to computers was a little more of a challenge for an
Yeah.
old timer like me. And so, but I embraced it, dove in, and found out that really, if you just apply the same skills or the same rules of sculpting, they apply the same, right?
Oh, okay,
Like,
so-
just like everyone says, right? It's just another tool or another material. It's
Yeah.
digital clay versus regular clay or wax.
Wow.
And with some added benefits.
Yeah. So
like-
that transition was pretty good then, for on the artistic level.
Yeah. From the artistic level, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was, complexities of learning how to use the software from never having touched it. And then once I got past that, it was like, oh, okay, now I'm getting somewhere,
Nice.
and like, when I was sculpting traditionally, one of the things I hated doing the most was like hard surface sculpting, right? And I would get those every once in a while. And then once I got to ZBrush, and I was like, oh, box modeling and like Z Modeler, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, this is the best thing ever. And so I really got into hard surface modeling in ZBrush, which, like I said, I hated doing as a traditional artist. I absolutely despise it. Did it only reluctantly, when I had to. But once I got into here, it was so cool. And then they gave me some projects where I actually got to. they're dismantling my armor. Where I actually got to use it. And so getting into there and really it was all tutorials and all that sort of stuff, learning all that stuff. And then going through Z Modeler and seeing that it was more than just like, oh, well, here's a box and I can extrude some stuff. There was like so many functions. And I was like, my mind was blown, and I was like, oh, I can do so much with this. And immediately dove into it. And this is one of those projects.
Well, I was going to say, you got hard surface right now, which I'll tell you, I hear this all the time. Oh, ZBrush hard surface, that doesn't happen. And we're like, what are you talking about? It happens all the time. I mean, Paul Gabry,
oh man,
he does hard
like
surface.
spaceships galore and all the other stuff, coffee makers and whatnot. Yeah, so this is a piece by an artist named Sket1. So this is the Optimus Prime Sket1, and it starts off with 2D art, like a lot of our stuff does, especially when we're working with other artists' concepts who come to us. So he's a graffiti artist, designed this one, but just like all 2D art, we have to translate it over, and there's complexities in translating that sort of stuff. And this one, I mean, it was just straight lines and hard surface everywhere. So it was like, oh man, like how are we going to do this? And then bring it into here, and unlike sculpting something organic, where I would probably start with, like Dynamesh and things, and really treating it more like clay and wax, and then transitioning over. With the hard surface stuff, I immediately just go into boxes and start pulling shapes and doing stuff, and a lot of remeshing. But then one of my favorite things is working with dynamic subdivisions.
Oh yeah.
Like absolute game changer. This model here, which looks, I mean, this is what the finished model looks like. This is my working model, and it's only 1.5 million polys.
That's it.
That's
1.5?
1.5 million polys, and it's, there it is. Like the finished model, which you'll see doesn't really, like nothing really changes. And this one's all engineered, so now this one's been keyed and all that other stuff. And this one's 15 million polys. So it's like 10 times larger once I got into the thing. and I can still, move it around or whatever. But at this size, I mean, I can sit here and spin this thing. Like my computer does not lag at all, and I've got all the same definition in there. And because I can work with like poly groups and things like that, it makes things like painting the model like really easy. And that helps to understand the design when you're looking at something like this.
Yeah,
it's so colorful. And then you get, oops, there's my daughter. And then you get into just like working like, gray shapes and stuff. You can lose the sense of what it should be sometimes, And so being able to do that and, having individual poly groups for every little corner and shape, I mean, makes it so easy. And that's what I love about this stuff. Like,
Ian, is that a paint roller at the end of the pole there?
Their dynamic sub is by far, man. That's so amazing.
Yeah, well, everybody's pointing out the fact that looks like a paint roller. See Optimus Prime? He's painting.
He's doing some graffiti art, man. He's going around and tagging up and letting the Decepticons that
he's painting down.
The Autobots are here, man.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's super awesome.
Yeah, he's got his like graffiti gun and all that sort of stuff. And one of the other cool things I was gonna say with inside, not just Z Modeler, but inside the Gizmo stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The deformers.
Like, love those.
Oh my god, I was trying to figure out how to get like a really good sense of perspective in this thing.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and you said, hey, can we do a forced perspective a little bit to really push it a little further?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how do you do forced perspective on a sculpture? Like, how do I stretch it? And just started trying to understand it. And in those deformers, I was able to take the model and then just apply a little bit of stretch and a little enlarging, and
there you go.
And immediately it's like, I mean, if you look at it from the top, you can see where his front leg's a little bigger than his small leg. The gun really comes out forward, but the final look of it is really cool because it really comes forward. And that was all just deformers. Like I didn't have to individually shrink each part. I could take the whole sculpture and just go, all right, let's stretch it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then done. And I think, maybe like T-pose or whatever, I had to take it into Transpose Master or something. But still, using the deformer to reshape the entire figure.
Yeah, and
is amazing.
You found a really good way to approach that and keep it super. I don't want to say simplistic because that minimizes it, but it definitely helps the process in a more straightforward manner. And
absolutely,
that's so awesome. I'm super glad that ZBrush can help you get to that point.
Oh, I would have been scratching my head, and if I had to do this traditionally with a forced perspective, I would have quit probably.
Ian,
so how long?
Question come through about perspective.
Oh, we have
actually.
Yeah, we have a question coming in.
Yeah, they see they have perspective on. What does he put his perspective on for the purpose of, because he's going to be sending this to a 3D print?
Oh, yeah. So the audience has noticed you have perspective turned on. What do you have it set to? Because since you work with 3D printing, how does that integrate?
So I actually learned, when I first started learning ZBrush, I wanted to get a sense, because the perspective always threw me a little bit.
Okay.
And so I actually sculpted something, had it 3D printed just really quickly.
Yeah.
And I was sort of holding it at arm's length, comparing it to the screen, and kind of going, all right, where does the perspective line up to what I have? And so what I've learned is that if I just take perspective and dial it down to 30, it lines up to about arm's length or so, if I'm holding the sculpture. So like this is...
Show it again. Show it again.
I think the actual product's maybe about this size.
Could you open up that menu one more time? The audience really wants to see this.
So normally, right, you get like the camera view and all that's on, right? And so there it is at, at its 50 standard stuff. I usually turn that off and then dial this down to 30.
Okay.
And for me, I mean, it's, if I brought in the actual product and held it right here, I could line up the same perspective roughly at about that size.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's been really helpful because, working with this stuff, even with hard surface stuff, it's nice to sort of see a little perspective on it versus just always straight. You want to, especially, and this one's got that forced perspective on top of it, so you really want to get a sense of it. So turning it off and on while I worked was really important, but also not having it over exaggerated or under, because of the camera lens or something like that. makes it important. And so that's one I learned, and I learned that pretty early on. It was one of the earlier things because I was having that transitional difficulty of like, it doesn't look quite right to my eye. And then once I was like, oh, I can dial that in and like really get it to about that working distance, where traditionally, I mean, that's where I was working, about an arm's distance away.
That makes total sense,
And
too.
so I just set it up that way. Again, it's just taking traditional, applying it to digital. Same rules, same settings.
Wow, that's
Make it
super
work for
cool.
me, yeah.
So you already talked about how ZModeler was awesome, and I can't stress that enough
Yeah,
already.
love it.
But is there another brush that you're like second favorite, super loving?
Oh, for this, well, ZProject is absolutely like, for what I do here as a engineer here, I engineer, I don't know, half, maybe a little more of the projects that come through.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a lot of stuff where ZProject is amazing, where I can actually open up a model, go on the inside, and just push back anything that's penetrating. And for 3D print, that's a huge, huge deal, right? We can't have stuff colliding, you know, or undercutting. For us, I mean, that's a killer, you know. I mean, it goes into production, and we hear from molding cast like, "Hey, these parts won't go together," and it's like, and that just comes right back to me because I'm the one that did it. So, so that tool, way useful, because otherwise you got to open up and either you're sculpting it away or trying to move it. But that can deform, you know, parts of your model. The ZProject just goes right to that surface and doesn't do anything beyond that.
Perfect.
And I mean, it's exactly what I need. I mean,
That's
I mean, it's a made-for tool for that specific thing. It's amazing.
Dude, that's super awesome. We're going to check out some of these other artists.
Absolutely.
But pleasure to meet you.
Always
Thank
nice.
you so much for sharing all that. It's amazing. So, already, guys, this room is awesome. I'm just going to say it right now. Going to make some changes in my office as soon as possible.
Absolutely, and you've landed in the mothership of all
Inspiration
motherships.
for Ian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that alien
I mean,
behind him. Be careful.
Yeah, seriously, I know, right? Anyway, so we have a few more artists to get through, and we're going to turn it over to Aaron here. Aaron, how's it going?
What the hell? You're not Louis Tucci.
No, we got them locked up.
Louis, what up? Miss
Aaron,
you,
my
buddy.
main man. What's going on, Aaron? I miss you, man.
So, tell us a little about yourself, Aaron. How'd you start at Sideshow?
So my name's Aaron. I've been working at Sideshow
guy.
for about 7 years now.
Yeah.
I've been in the industry for over 20, and been on ZBrush for a little over 10.
Wow.
And I'm a sculptor, a modeler, and an engineer here at Sideshow.
That's so cool.
This is my cubicle with my collection of Safubi toys and things I make, and
surrounded by inspiration and art.
Exactly.
Always. That's the theme I'm noticing right now between everybody
yeah.
here, is they're all surrounded by what they love. And
yeah,
that's amazing.
It's a pleasure to come in and walk through the hallway every day and come and get to work in your own space like this and create toys all day.
So I see you have this really wild skull character that
I do.
I'm just falling in love with. Can you tell us a little bit about this
This
guy?
is the Bonehead by Tony Riff. And this is a piece I got to create from his graffiti style artwork.
Wow.
He's
man,
also
black
one of my
belt, look at this
favorite
guy.
graffiti artists, actually. So it was really an awesome pleasure to get to work on this piece.
Yeah, super stylized.
Yeah,
but
especially when you just have only like one angle and one view of it, and you just get to bring it to life in 3D.
so you only had the one concept
That's it,
to
that's
work
all we
off
got.
of. Wow.
Straight fire.
So how much? Yeah. So how much did you have to kind of interpret? What was the process like for that?
Yeah, well, we'll start out just kind of like bringing it like right over top of it, and maybe turning translucence on, and just get it pretty close, and then as things go, we'll have to kind of move it around a little bit and just kind of make it kind of feel good from all the different angles, and just get a really nice organic 3D feel to
And
it.
how did you bring the concept in? Since you're putting it over it, is that on a plane? Did you use?
Yeah, it's just from a texture.
Nice.
I just brought an image plane in.
That's super
And
cool.
then you can save your views and snap back to it and stuff like that. But we'll usually crop it and stuff. This is kind of just for to show the audience.
Louis Paul, you seeing this?
I'm
statue?
in awe, and I haven't seen Aaron in a long time. He's one of the best guys.
But one of my
and,
favorite things
great cyclist.
about ZBrush for me is the 3D printing aspect of it.
Yeah, could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and you can see here, like as I take away the skull, here's all the keys and the different parts that we'll have to print.
Wow.
And I love to print on FDM, like halfway through the process, just so we can see it.
Why
Actually,
FDM?
It's just like a really quick way to print and just to kind of see, make sure all the shapes and the project's going the right direction. We can kind of like take it and show the artist and the art director.
Yeah.
Things
So,
like
Ian, it
that.
looked
So
like
here's
that
a
was
couple
9 pieces when he showed.
pieces that I printed on FDM.
Wow.
It's for fun. This is probably my favorite part of ZBrush is just having a printer like right beside you.
Yeah.
And just being able to make your own toys like right there, you know?
Yeah, that's super cool. So how many pieces did you have in total when this guy was done?
This one, it only has 11. This is a pretty simple project.
Yeah.
Mostly just starting with like Z-spheres and just ZBrush, pushing and pulling. Not a lot of crazy
People are digging
things
Aaron's
that we had to do with this
collection
piece,
in the
but-
background. They want to see some of
Yeah.
that.
coming
Ask
up with
him
the
about that
design.
big gray Safubi that he
figuring
made.
out was pretty
Right next to
actually
him.
pretty tricky, but really
Yeah.
fun.
So we have audience right now looking at that gray statue to your right. Can you tell us about that?
This guy?
Yeah, because everybody's loving just
This is,
the aesthetics of your desk
This is JoJo. He's one of my personal pieces I did.
That's straight fire, Aaron.
He's designed to be able to
Look at that.
do this pose.
Louis Tucci wants one. Where do we sign up to purchase?
right now. Louis wants one. You might hear from him
Dude.
soon.
Yeah, here's a JoJo on some skeleton feet.
I love the articulation that you have going here too.
The eyes
And
popping
you
out.
said-
The eyes are
what?
popping out.
Check this out.
Yeah.
You can see inside how this works. This was all FDM printed and designed in ZBrush.
Wow.
I'll zoom in on that.
Everything fit
Zoom in
together
on that
pretty
one
much.
a little
bit.
Maybe
Zoom in on that
like
guy.
just a little bit of minor sanding.
Can we zoom in just a little bit more on that guy?
Show it again. Zoom it in a little
On
bit.
the breakdown.
mechanics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mechanics.
Yeah. I mean, FDM printed too, by the way. which
Straight,
is
everything done in
super
ZBrush here.
cool.
So wicked, man.
That's great.
That
Aaron
is
McNaught.
so cool.
And there's like magnets in there and stuff, so it snaps open and stays open.
That's so wicked. I love that everybody here is just having so much fun on a day-to-day basis and get to make amazing toys and figures. It's so cool. You were mentioning earlier a little bit about your workflow in ZBrush. Do you have like a favorite feature or favorite
Yeah.
brush you fall on?
Yeah, I mean, like the live bullion really changed the game like big time, as well as ZBrush for us. Like that was once that stuff came in, it really just opened so many doors for 3D printing and not having to retopologize and things like that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite brushes that I use is the Trim Dynamic. So like you can just like what I use it for is just doing like the hard angles.
Wow.
So you can
Hey,
just
Ian.
get like two
Tell Aaron Louis is
Yeah,
riding a
see how you
Colnago
get-
these days.
stuff like that. And I go crazy with this thing. Like I use it. I just discovered it like randomly,
Wow.
and I just use it on everything. You can just
Wow. So that
just
already looks like you're getting
dial in
some-
these.
Looks like some gym texture you already put on there. It's really cool.
Yeah, and like you can see like
So
the sharp edges on here and stuff was all done in ZBrush with brushes. Like just
That's so cool.
just like standard, and then kind of like maybe going in and hitting this on the sides and stuff.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
then yeah, and then like the
Look at those teeth, man. Those teeth are wicked. And the eyes. I just love the whole design. It's super cool. Super fun.
yeah, once I painted the eyes, like it really started coming to life.
Yeah. Do you usually keep it grayscale like what you have it right now, or do you go full color?
I might do color just for fun, but yeah, I'll usually just sculpt in this gray. And this is actually a material that my buddy over here, you'll talk to him soon, created that was close to the wax we used to use.
Really? Awesome. Man, that's super cool. Paul, Louis, I mean, do we have any questions coming in from the audience? Because my brain is just rattling with all sorts of fun stuff. It's amazing to see
Yeah,
this stuff come
a couple things specifically. What actual FDM printer did he use, if he can remember? And then also one to let everyone know that he is going to be this weekend at DesignerCon. So go check out his table.
Anything coming through?
Yeah. So we got a couple questions. First one is, do you remember the exact FDM printer you're using?
Yeah, I used the Up Mini by Tier Time.
Okay. Nice.
I've had a few of them, and they're pretty solid.
That's super cool. And then DesignerCon? You showing up at the...
I'm not gonna display at DesignerCon this year,
Oh, okay.
but I have had all this stuff at DesignerCon.
Wow.
I think I've done 4 different shows.
That's amazing.
And I'll just take this stuff and I'll sell this stuff right at my table, like straight off ZBrush onto a printer, right onto the table. And
Wow, so you're manufacturing right on the spot. You're just like,
Oh,
you want
yeah.
one? Wait a couple
that's how I
hours. We got you.
started. Actually, this the cool story is this figure right here. So this got produced by Medicom. So I was selling these at DesignerCon, just the prints, and they ended up producing this. So this is an actual Safubi figure that came from ZBrush
So
to the
wicked.
printer to production
Wow.
in Japan. Yeah.
It's awesome to see him come this far from all those years ago. He was
Pretty
working
cool
on
story.
this with you guys.
Very similar to what we do here
Yeah.
with this stuff, you know.
No, that is so cool. Louis was just saying how awesome it is to see how far you've come, and just the work you produce
Oh,
is just top
man.
notch. So
I miss you, Louis.
Yeah, dude, same.
You're the best,
You're the
dude.
best guy, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Aaron, it's such a pleasure to be able to chat with you and
Oh,
just
yeah.
kind of pick your brain
It's
a
great,
little bit.
man. It's a
Any
pleasure.
last words you want to tell the audience watching at the moment?
Oh, and it was a pleasure to be on the live stream. And dude, I use ZBrush every day. I couldn't ask for a better program, dude. Like seriously, like I was skeptical to go digital when I used to be traditional, and it changed my life, man. It brought my art to a whole new level, and having the 3D printers now and being able to take everything from this program right to 3D is it's mind blowing. I really appreciate everything that you guys have created.
Dude, it's
been awesome.
It's amazing to see what artists like yourself can just bring to the table with the software. It really just also too showcases that you can really do anything in ZBrush.
Totally.
And so thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Man.
This is an honor, seriously, and great work. I mean, I'm inches away from this, and it's just so amazing, dude. So,
Dude, you guys are welcome anytime.
all right, well, I might take you up on that offer.
Cool.
All right, Aaron. See ya.
See you, Aaron.
See ya. Oh man. Dude, so as you guys can see already, we have a few more artists to highlight, but I mean, this room, if this room doesn't speak for itself with just how amazing and talented everyone here is, and the use that they use in ZBrush to create such amazing works of art is just, it's groundbreaking. I'm almost speechless already, guys. It's crazy. So without further ado, though, we have another artist. Let's come inside. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how's it
Hi,
going?
I'm Ian. Who are you? Shu?
Yep, nice
Pleasure
to
to
meet you.
meet you. So tell us a little bit about what you do here at Sideshow.
I'm another one of the sculptors here. I'm working on the J. Scott Campbell piece.
Oh, is that the
This
red?
is the Red Riding
The
Hood.
Red Riding Hood that we
Yeah.
showcased out there. So if anybody's tuning in right now, before we walked into this room, we actually showed off a little Red Riding Hood piece that you actually sculpted. And could you tell us a little bit about it, the creative process, and how was the work on it?
Well, J. Scott Campbell designed this piece, and he's just really an amazing artist, and he comes up with just dozens of illustrations, like a full turn, the entire sculpt from every angle. So you don't really have too many questions about what needs to be sculpted because he provides so much visual information. So you just start going at it and sending him updates, and he'll do little tweaks here and there, and if there's any additional art that needs to be made, like he'll do that artwork and send it in. And he's really nice, very positive, very enthusiastic, and an amazing artist. So
That's so cool. And notice right now, I want to point out that you kind of customize your UI in ZBrush a little bit.
a little bit. It's mostly the stock UI, only I added a bunch of brushes I used to the top menu, changed some of the colors, changed the background color just because it's easier on my eyes. But for the most part, it's not all that unique. It's pretty much stock.
Well, I have to say, I love the purple and green. I have a very similar UI
Yeah.
where I have green with a little bit of purple on my custom one at home. But yeah, no, it looks good. I see you have Move Infinite up there at the
I do,
top.
yeah.
I love that brush.
So do I. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
How did you discover that brush?
By wanting it for a long time, and then it suddenly happened.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's great for things like hard surface, whether you're working with like Dynamesh or actual topology. You know, you want to make sure that you're grabbing both sides and moving everything around at the same time. So yeah, that's fantastic. I use that for a lot of stuff. That and the Z Modeler brush and Damn Standard. And those are like a lot of my go-to. And Snake Hook, I use Snake Hook instead of Move.
Yeah.
Just gives me more control that I like.
Well, that's really cool. And I'm probably slow to this, but I just noticed that the tree is like a hand reaching up and over. Like the level of storytelling here is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That is super, super cool. Do you usually work in just grayscale, or do you apply color as well?
I usually keep it grayscale. Depending on what it is, I might add some color. Like I sculpted a She-Hulk one time, and so I had to start painting the face and the body green just to really get into it and feel like I was capturing some of her character.
Wow.
So for things like that, I'll add some color, but for the most part, just matte cap gray, or sometimes I'll use blend in order to check the smoothness of the surfaces. But for the most part, just matte cap gray.
Wow, that's super, super cool. I notice like every artist here, you also have, I'm looking at this comic over here.
Yes,
I don't know if we can get a
thank
shot of
you.
that guy.
That is my comic that just came out this Halloween.
Wow.
And that's available on orangephantasm.com. It's $4.99.
All right, so
Thank you.
okay, I'm gonna have to get one then.
Okay, that's your copy then whenever you're ready.
Oh man, but no, this is super, super cool. Oh, also no, so you have an accroche here. So, you know, when you're going through sculpting, how often do you reference anatomy?
Anatomy is a constant reference, I think.
Yeah.
Personally, I love it, and it's a part of like every type of sculpt you can do. Like even if it's like a more stylized or cartoony character, like J. Scott Campbell like uses a lot of anatomy in his work, and it might have stylization to it, but the anatomy is still there. And if you get hung up on a part, he'll break it down, like, you know, with all of the realistic anatomy if you need to. So yeah, anatomy's a big part of any type of sculpting, no matter what.
There's
kind of
questions about the
character
tree
you're doing, so
stuff, Ian.
I always reference anatomy, and
Oh, cool.
reference is king, as a lot of people say. So tons and tons of visual reference.
Absolutely. So we have some questions coming in. Go ahead, Paul. What's your question?
So how
What we got?
did he sculpt the tree bark by hand, or did he use alphas? Is the first one.
Okay, so first question is it is about the tree.
Okay.
Did you sculpt that by hand completely? Did you use alphas? What was your process through that?
This one is actually a bit more extreme, the way you're seeing it right now. That's not the one we went with. But that was, I sculpted it by hand, and then I masked all the recesses, and then inverted the mask, and then shrunk all of that in a bit to get this texture.
Oh, wow.
But it was a bit more extreme than the stylization of the rest of the things. So we did more of a, for the final piece, we did more of like a chiseled, planar effect to it,
Gotcha.
something like that.
Wow, that's really, really cool. Paul, Louis, I mean, thoughts? Look at this. Such a
Yeah.
fantastic piece.
How was it printed out in the pieces? Is another question coming through. How was it printed out in
okay.
the piece?
So we have another question coming through. How many
Sure.
pieces was the final piece for manufacturing? Like, if you remember.
I think it's about 16,
16?
something like that.
Wow, yeah. Nice.
Which isn't too many. Things like the crossbow. You have to take off the really spindly stuff, the small stuff.
Right. Because it's too thin to produce at that point.
Yeah, this hair piece was a separate piece. This little cluster of arrows was separate. And then each of these were separate pieces.
Nice. I like the wolf prints.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom, little subtle details like that is what really just brings it to life. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's all J. Scott Campbell. Yeah.
Here's
No,
another
it's super.
question when you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul. Shoot.
So these sculpts for collectibles, what are the dimensions to prevent for making sure that the parts aren't too thin or tiny? Does he do anything for that, especially with something like the tree?
Oh, so the question we have coming in is, when it comes to the thickness, is there like a minimum thickness you have to adhere to? How do you approach the thinner items when you're getting ready for manufacturing?
Okay, so it's kind of like using your best judgment based on experience, I guess. Like with these arrows, a lot of them are clustered together, so they aren't really individual arrows, and they're close enough that they're forming one object, but you do have to over-exaggerate with some things.
Yeah.
I was surprised, actually, that this trigger guard, or this trigger on the crossbow, I thought for sure that I was going to be asked to make that thicker, but it was printed, and then I believe it was probably produced in like a hard plastic because it would be very fragile if it was polystone.
Gotcha.
But
UI
yeah,
question.
you do have to exaggerate a little bit for the sake of durability. Otherwise, everything's going to get broken.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paul. You got another question? Love the questions, by the way.
Someone was asking about his custom UI, specifically, obviously, the background, why he's decided to go with the purple as a background. Is there a reason for that?
Oh, so the question is actually, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit with the custom UI, but the purple gradient, was there a specific reason for that, or just?
Just me looking around, like scrolling around for a color that felt comfortable, that was easier on the eyes.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where at the moment I was like, okay, that feels pretty good. And then after I had used it, I just kept it there. And before I knew it, I was like, it was pretty much the only color I felt comfortable using. So
I personally agree with that choice. I very much lean on the purples and pinks myself. So that's really, really cool.
just something that works for me.
Yeah, absolutely. See, everybody, you guys can customize the UI so that it works for you. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And then another question coming in, Ian.
Oh, go right ahead, Paul.
How did he do the basket?
Oh, great question. How did you do the basket?
Great question, Paul.
He's like, I don't remember.
The basket,
Look at that.
I started out with a sphere, and then I used Initialize to break it down into wider polygons of, I can't remember how many, but big blocky polygons to start. And then this is one of those things that I was like figuring it out as I was going. So
Yeah, a lot of trial and error, and you're just kind of
exactly.
like trying things out, and if it doesn't work, you pivot a little bit.
exactly, I think I pulled off polygroups for each one of those strips that was going down the sides of it. And once I had all of that made, then I actually used ZModeler and isolated a strip, pulled off that strip, added thickness, and went in and did that to every one, and then manually pushed back, pulled out, pushed back, pulled out, and kept going around it. And J. Scott Campbell wanted a lot of variation, and so I just would go around and, like, by hand, just push and pull stuff until it started to feel like a basket.
Wow. Well, that
So-
paid off because, I mean, the amount of detail that basket on its own has is phenomenal. So great job on that.
Thanks. A lot of work for, I don't know, something that's kind of a side detail, but
But you know,
it's got tons of detail in it.
it so works though. I mean, because again, that's just the level that everybody here at Sideshow is bringing to the table. It's just pushing the bar and making it as best as they can. And
Yeah.
for that, we thank you because it comes off so amazing. Like,
Yeah.
great job.
Thank you.
Paul, Lou, do you have any final questions? Maybe we could take like one more question.
Yep. One more question coming through. How often do you have to make changes on your work due to customer changing their minds?
Oh, great question. How often would you say you have to go through iterations or changes when you submit for approval, either due to licensing changes or client changes? It could be
Well-
ballpark, doesn't have to be great.
Not a whole lot. J. Scott Campbell he is very specific. Like, he knows what he wants. So during the whole process, that's when stuff gets called out. But as far as working on other things and having to make changes because of like licensor approval, I don't know. I think we try to nail it down beforehand with the design
Nice.
and submitting as we go along, that there isn't a whole lot of pushback, like once something is done and then someone says, oh, you can't do this, you better change that, or we don't like this, you better change that.
Gotcha.
Usually work all that out ahead of time.
That's super awesome.
But that comes from experience. So I'm not saying it's never happened.
No. Well, seriously, Shu, thank you so much for
Thank
hanging
you.
out with us. We're going
Yeah.
to go ahead and check out the other artists here, but
Okay.
always a pleasure.
Right on.
Yeah, yeah. And real quick, too, can we just get like a 360 view of this whole room? Because I cannot stress enough how beautiful and insane and amazing this room is. Like,
Wow. Look at that.
yeah. The lighting. It's like it's cinematic and it's comforting to the eyes. So like you could just be in this room all day long. It's crazy. And all the alien pieces here, just ready to eat my head. It's super awesome. So, well, we have two more. We're not done yet. We got two more artists. And to my left, we have someone here. Hi, my name's Ian. How you doing?
Will, nice to meet you.
Will, pleasure to meet you. So, please tell us what you do here at Sideshow.
I'm a sculptor at Sideshow. I've been here for about a little over 8 years.
Yeah.
Been working with ZBrush for, boy, we were doing the math here, like 15 for me, going back a long ways, back when there were no subtools, you know, the early days. But and I've been in the business for probably 10 years before that. So what's that? 25 years, I guess, a long time.
Oh, nice,
It just
man.
tells you I'm old.
So how did you get started in ZBrush?
I was a traditional, like almost, I think everybody in this room was traditional to start with for a long time. And I was reluctant. You know, I'd been doing it for so many years and was so comfortable. It's just, you know, I resisted it, but was finally convinced to try it. And best decision I ever made in my life. I mean, no question about it. I heard Aaron saying that changed his life, and it certainly changed mine as well. We've worked together. Aaron and I worked together for, 20 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, we both were traditional together, and then learned digital. And just my art was better when I learned ZBrush in the first year than it was in 15 years of working before that.
Wow.
It really let me blossom. I was not held back by the limitations of the material and stuff like that anymore. I always joke around that, when you're a traditional sculptor, there's nothing better than sculpting the Hulk's fist. I mean, it's just that you just get into that and you're like having so much fun and like, it's the Hulk,
Yeah.
And then, but there's nothing worse than sculpting his other fist. You know what I mean? Like, that sucks.
You gotta
like,
get the other
I'm
one.
gonna match it, and like, you're in the wax, and like, but ZBrush allows you to put more and more and more effort into the parts that are creative and fun.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got, all these things you can use, the, mirroring and all that kind of stuff, really lets you put more energy into the parts that turn you on, you know. So anyway, it's been so liberating to me. I've loved it. Oh, and hey, Paul, where are you?
Hey, Will, give him my best.
He says hi.
Okay,
He says hi.
yeah, we've known each other. We've gone back for a million years
Yeah,
too.
gone
So
back a long time, Will and
I just wanted to say thank you to the whole team there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I see you got an amazing piece. You're also surrounded by amazing pieces.
Oh, thanks.
Which I'll point one out. That's one of my favorite already. But could you talk about what's going on in your screen?
Yeah, I did this as a Tana piece, which was a lot of fun because the engineering lets us show off. This trick. She's got a big metal rod that goes up her leg, so it looks like she's, a magician defying gravity sitting on a table with no legs.
Yeah.
So she was a lot of fun to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's just super dynamic, and it's
Yeah.
really showing off. I love the cloth details. How did you approach the cloth, specifically the one she's sitting on right now?
Yeah, that one. The jacket and the tablecloth were both done in Marvelous Designer, and I've found that the Marvelous Designer and ZBrush play together so well.
Yeah.
I'm doing mainly superheroes and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of loose clothing, but when I had this opportunity, I was like, oh, this might be a neat chance to. I'm a software junkie. I'll try everything. I just want to I want to try every program and everything now. So I thought, oh, what a great chance to play around with Marvelous Designer in the loose parts there. And like I said, I found that they play together so well. I could get a really, some natural wrinkles and shapes in Marvelous Designer, and then I bring it into ZBrush, and you can give it all that high-res detail and make it work.
So you're really enhancing it once you bring it back.
Absolutely. I found for me, for what we're doing, we're not making video games or movies or something like that. So I just need that architecture of the wrinkles and folds and stuff like that, and then but all the life comes from what I do in ZBrush with it.
That's so cool. And the base, too. Looking at the details of the base that you have there. Can we zoom in on that a little bit? How did you approach this?
I just modeled that, like a little chunk of it, and then warped it and wrapped it around. It's less complicated than it looks. I think I can. I love subdivisions. I just for me, mirroring is one of the most beautiful things in ZBrush, right?
Absolutely.
But one of the other ones is subdivisions. I just love the way to work that way with. When you're a traditional sculptor, it's one direction. Okay. You start off with soft material like clay or something like that, and you get the basic forms in, and then one of the ways you can work is you make a mold of that and cast it in wax, and then you put in the hard detail stuff.
Yeah.
But one way for us traditional guys to think about subdivision levels is you can go back and forth from the clay to the wax and then back to the clay again, which you could never do as a traditional sculptor. Once you go into wax, you can't make those big global changes comfortably without annihilating all your detail. Right. But with subdivision levels, and anyway, so I tend to model things, and partly because I just love modeling as well. Yeah. I tend to overuse subdivision levels probably, but it's just because that's the way I've worked, and I've always felt comfortable doing it. So.
No, that's super awesome. And so was this from a 2D concept design? Was this direction of piece?
Yeah, this piece. I'll just bring it up. Oops, you won't be able to see that on this screen. Well, we'll have to show it on this screen. This is what we're given, is a piece like this. That was the concept art.
Oh, wow.
So we knew for this piece, it varies depending on the project. Sometimes we're given a lot of direction, and sometimes it's just, hey, we're going to do a such and such. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, okay.
But in this case, the design was fairly well worked out. We knew what we were going for. We knew the gag of the suspension gag that we were going for, and the sort of sassy personality. And so this one was pretty straightforward and pretty easy to get to the results of. But like I said, some of them are
a couple questions Ian,
more or less vague, depending on just the situation of the license and the project and what we're looking for.
No, that's so cool. We do have a few questions coming in.
Okay,
Paul,
sure.
go right ahead.
Yeah, so someone is asking if he had any tips for how he does hair.
Ooh, okay. I think, Will, you might have seen this one coming.
Oh,
hair,
yeah.
hair tips.
Oh, yeah, look at this. I even have a cute app. Look,
It's not staged, guys.
no, it actually it wasn't.
Perfect.
Yeah, hair is like fire and smoke and water and that kind of stuff.
All
it
those-
isn't really a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing, but it's not
it's
a
not
thing.
a thing. Yeah. So for me, this is a technique that I sort of have been working with since really early on. And everybody wants to know, like how you do it and stuff like that. But really, there's tons of tutorials online for, just a brush, a hair brush and stuff like that. But for me, the most important part, again, is the architecture of the hair.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Let me just turn off part of it. Well, actually, this piece has been, it's kind of.
So I see there you got some filler as well.
Yeah, I'll show you. But this one is a keyed, ready to go piece. You can see, I broke it down into 5 different elements.
Wow.
But so let me turn that off and bring the reference back. So when for me, one of my favorite things, it's an underutilized weapon in the arsenal of ZBrush, is Z-Sketch. I don't hear people talk about it or use it that much, but I love it. And hair is a great place to show what it can do. So, just to remind people who haven't used it in a while, you just append a Z-sphere. I like to select it and just kind of tuck it someplace where it's not going to be in my way. So you can just grab it and move it, out of your way a little bit, and immediately go right into Z-Sketch. And the magic of it is, you could bring in a sphere, just a regular sphere or a cylinder or something like that, and start pulling it and pushing it. But I find that you can get a little closer to the volumes and the shapes you want by just painting it in. And again, as a traditional sculptor, this is real familiar. This is where you're just taking clay and squirting it on there. But you can begin to start to, think about the flow of it that you want.
So you're building it up.
Yeah, and you can adjust your brush size, of course, to really start to get some direction. I tend to not go super overboard because my whole goal here is just to get the volumes down in with some of the direction and some of, now of course I would take a little bit more time than I'm taking here. I'm kind of going a little bit quickly, but you can, let's say, I want it to sort of drape over her shoulder and come back around. That's really, that's, again, you can do it in Dynamesh, just bring in a sphere in Dynamesh, but if you take your time a little bit with this, you can really get some, you can get a lot further, a lot faster.
Wow.
So let's say, basically, once I'm done with that, I would end up with something like this.
Wow.
Just, again, super rough shapes, just,
But the language is there.
But yeah, all the structure, the architecture is there. And then you go back with, and you can get them online or you can make your own. I made my own custom hair brushes, but there's, like I said, a million tutorials on how to do that. And then I work on the under hair longer than I work on the remesh of the hair, with the detail, because I really want that to tell me everything so that when I go back to replace it with, a more refined version of it, I'm really just recreating what's underneath there by, laying out the strokes of the hair with the hairbrush, and it makes it a lot easier. I'm always looking for ways to not have to think about it that much. You know what I mean? Because you could spend days and days and days on hair.
100%.
One of the things that people they're looking for a switch you can flip that makes the hair, and hair will hair, like all these other elements it takes time. And but I found I could spend 2 days sculpting it all by hand, and then it's never quite as clean as I want. And we need it to be very clean so we can produce it and have it be, painted and all that kind of stuff. Or I can take 2 days and do it this way, and I have a result that's really under my control. That's what I like.
No, that's super amazing. Thank you for going in on that.
Oh, absolutely. No problem. No problem.
We're going to have to move on,
Okay.
but I just wanted to point out, too, you had a lady Deadpool back there, and Deadpool's like one of my favorite characters, and I just happened to look over here to see the actual statue.
Yeah.
Did you work on?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I did that. That was one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on. She followed the Deadpool, who came first.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, we should do a Lady Deadpool. So her theme is sort of like anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah.
So they go together really nicely. But
yeah.
she's like trying to one up him. That was a fun
All
project.
right, cool. I'm gonna have to pick your brain about that later. But thank you so
Cheers.
much.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we got one more artist. The segment is coming to a close, but don't worry, because Paul and Louie, I know you have something really special as well. We're gonna move
We've got
on
more
over.
stuff going to happen on the stage.
The action never ends.
Move over to this guy. Hi, I'm Ian. How you doing?
What's going on, Ian? Michael Woodring.
Michael. So, all right. I've asked everybody here. What do you do here?
What do? I am the rapid prototyping coordinator. So basically, I run the 3D printing into the department.
So you're the final stop.
I'm the final stage.
So they all sculpt and then throw it over their computers.
Throw it
and
over
say,
to me,
"Here."
and I fix all their problems.
Perfect.
So I take the stuff that Alfred and Aaron, they'll give it a pass through, and make
Yeah.
sure that they get all the egregious issues.
Yeah.
And then that comes over to me, and I will take it into ZBrush, and it's already in ZBrush. So I will take it and jump into my 3D print hub,
Nice.
which is my absolute favorite. And these are my settings if anyone needs that.
Screen grab it now.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. We export in the Y
Yeah.
and just go for all tools, and then I make sure that I have my size in millimeters.
Yeah.
Most of the outside softwares work in millimeters. Update sizing ratios, and then I export.
Awesome.
And then, so from there, I'll bring it into Magix.
So this is where the pun intended magic happens.
Magic. And so I'll bring it in, and I'll start going through each. Sorry, this one's a little finicky because he's a big
worries.
boy.
Well, I mean, it's Harley Quinn, and that's such an awesome piece.
Yeah,
Who did that?
This is a Will Harbottle
Nice.
special.
Awesome.
So
This is
she's
also
got
part of the
great hair.
giveaway for US only.
You guys are just going over. And the nice thing about Magix is it catches stuff that ZBrush doesn't see.
Okay.
So if you give it a minute, it's a little slow because
Ian,
it
if he wants to
calculates
show Magix
everything.
in large,
So
he'll need to
it-
put
it
that on
takes
his
your-
other monitor.
It works off of STL
Oh,
files.
are you not seeing his screen right now?
No.
We're seeing it through the camera.
Oh, okay. Are you connected to share screen?
Yeah, should be. I know we're working on 2 different programs right
Wherever ZBrush was, we
okay.
saw that.
Okay. Give us. Yeah, they were seeing ZBrush. They're not seeing the magics right now. But if
Okay,
you can,
let's see if I can.
yeah. 1 second, guys. So as you could tell, this is a live show because not everything is perfect, but
There we
but
go.
it is
You're good.
amazing.
Awesome. You're good.
Yeah. Okay, we see it. Yeah, we
see it? All
Very
right.
cool. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Okay, so we've got Harley Quinn in here now.
Nice.
So these are the STL files that I've exported. And on the side, you'll see inverted normals, bad edges, holes. So one of the challenges of working with a program like ZBrush is the guys have so much freedom to go wild.
You got to reel them in.
You got to reel it in. So I'll go through and I'll find like a part with errors, or sometimes we've got like little shells, or even if it's like her skate wheels, the wheels will be in ZBrush there'll be one subtool, so then I have to come in, break it up into different parts so that when it goes on the printer it can be oriented properly.
Nice.
Another issue that we work with is, let's get that. Sometimes I have to go in. ZBrush will create little funky.
Okay, so you get some undercuts happen.
Yeah, we get some like tunneling and stuff, and you want to make sure that you clear all of that out before it goes to print, because the printer will pick up everything.
Nice. But you're able to bounce back and forth. If you need to move into ZBrush, you can just go in, make your change, and then pop back on over.
Super simple. I can take the STL from Magix, throw it into ZBrush.
Yeah.
Do any little fixes. Let's say I have to nudge something over because we got some collisions. That's another thing that we have to deal with when we're doing this, is working with collisions, because these guys they get to go to town, and I will have to go in, and so I've got 7 parts colliding right here, and then I can go in and manually fix it in Magix, or if it's really bad, I can just take it into ZBrush, use
Clean it
move
up.
topology,
Nice.
move it around, and
So this is a pretty tedious process then, but it's worth it at the end because, again, when we were coming in, before we got into this room, we saw so many amazing statues out there. This is just wonderful to see that kind of back and forth and how it's being produced.
I've been doing this with Magic since 2015.
Oh, wow, nice.
But I've been working in ZBrush since 2008.
Oh, wow.
I was in school for video game design. Shout out to my Art Institute Inland Empire people.
There you go.
But I was doing hard surface modeling and discovered ZBrush, and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And then I found out about Sideshow, worked my butt off.
Yeah.
Got in here, and then I landed myself in this position, which works really well because I love the technical side.
Yeah.
And I love the traditional side. So like fusing those two together and then printing it out.
100%.
You can go hog wild just like Aaron does. Like, I got a printer right here. Let's just print something out. Does this work? Does that work? No? Okay, let's figure it out. And then we get to work together as a team and, develop our process.
That's the element right there.
Oh, yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Oh, totally.
100%,
Totally.
yeah.
And like, just like Will, I am a program nerd. Like, I love learning everything.
Nice.
So Maya, I haven't touched C4D yet.
Oh,
but
we'll get you there. Don't you worry. We'll get you there.
Maya, Blender, ZBrush, like all of that stuff.
Nice.
It all works together and it works really well. And
Yeah.
so like, it gives me the fizz. Like
That's
super exciting.
So how long would you say this process normally takes? Like, you got it. I know there's going to be bouncing back and forth. So an exact is never easy to say, but like on estimate,
So I think with Harley here, she probably took me about a week.
Okay.
Because I'm at the mercy of the program.
Right.
So the higher the poly count, the more
Time it takes.
the slower it is for things to process. But it can take anywhere from a day for something simple like the Optimus Prime, or it could take up to a month, depending on the complexity of a project. So luckily with Harley here, she's only 25 subtools, or 25 parts, but I've had things come in that were almost 200.
Wow.
So it's always a challenge and it's always fun because it's something that's new every time and we're always getting better.
Yeah.
Are
you test printing yourself? Because I see rolls of filament around you. So you're going through.
I do everything. I just got an SLA printer, a resin printer. So now I'm doing test prints on that. I'm doing test prints, FDM. Like it's a playground.
Yeah.
So we just make things and have fun. And that all leads to a better product and like a better outcome in the end. So.
100%, yeah. Well, Louis, I mean, we got any questions coming? Sure, like this part right here, like I personally haven't used Magic much at all, but I understand the process of it. But I'm sure the audience is just blown away by what's being shown to them right now. Do we have any questions coming in?
Yeah, there was one question actually was more about, since he's at the end printing, I know what I do for my filament. So each of the filaments have a shelf life, and sometimes they can cause spidering when you print. Does he have any suggestions to prevent from that spidering to happen from when the filaments are sitting on the shelf?
So the question coming in about filament and shelf life and the spidering that can happen with older filaments. How do you handle that? Do you just blow through filaments
with it? Yeah.
You just roll with it?
Yeah, the cost of materials has gone down so much now, and it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. I've fallen in love with my FDM a lot more lately, just because it's like, $20 gets really far out there. So, but so you just kind of go with it then.
Yeah, like if it's spidering and if I'm getting a bird's nest or if it's falling apart, that's par for the course. Like that's on me. I just roll and then I get usually I blow through these things pretty quickly, depending on what I'm printing. Like we've had fun in here where we've tried to print like life-size stuff.
Yeah.
We have all these like Nernies and Greebles around here as we were building out the room that we printed.
Yeah.
It's super fun. Just like, I need something to hang like a blaster. I'll just model it in ZBrush and print it out. And there we go. Yeah.
Perfect.
So like, the filament thing, like I'm sure there's people that are cringing because I just have it in the open air, but
Yeah, well, we're, you know,
It's not a big
California.
deal.
We're a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's climate controlled.
Yeah,
Come
you were
on.
good. No, that's super awesome. Yeah, yeah. If for me, if it starts giving me trouble, I just throw it out and then buy a new roll.
Yeah, it's cost of a cheeseburger.
What
so.
type
there
of
you go.
resin printer are you using?
It's a
Ian?
$20 cheeseburger.
I live a high life.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, what was that, Louis Paul?
What type of resin printer is he using?
Oh, what's your resin printer that you're using?
I just got a Elegoo Saturn II.
Nice, and how
which
is
is
that?
that's their 8K version. I love it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I've used everything from like $500,000 printers all the way down to this like $120 printer.
Yeah.
So like, I want to say it's probably one of the most fun printers I've had so far. I've only had it a few weeks, but like, you know, just cranking stuff out, the fidelity on it is fantastic. We use the Form printers here, which those things are workhorses, they're beasts.
Yeah.
But having a printer that costs under $1,000 that I can just throw to the side and like just do some R&D and experiment with, it's fantastic.
What's the printer behind him?
Yeah.
The little one?
Well, what's the little printer again?
This is my Monoprice Mini Select 2.
Nice.
Which was like, yeah, this little guy here. This is my champ. I use this thing all the time.
That's so cool.
Like it's got a small build tray, but you can do a lot with it. It's all about space management.
Yeah.
And you know, if I need something that's just printed real quick, I'll just throw it on there.
Go
chop it up. I can do a lot of hacking and slicing and magics.
Yeah.
So I can break things down, engineer with pinholes or have like lap cuts.
Nice.
And or if I need something like honeycombed,
Yeah.
which I normally will do for a base. So I can take a base here, do a select, and then where are we at? I can actually honeycomb the part.
Wow. Look at that. That is awesome.
Machine's thinking.
Yep, perfect. Well, while it's thinking, we are going to have to wrap it up here, but it is super amazing and a pleasure to admit.
Good having you in
everyone
here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're done.
And look at that. Wow, that was cool.
And that helps save materials, and it actually creates a nice structure inside.
Yeah.
So
That's so
it's,
cool.
It's just super fast and
Love it.
great results.
Well, again, thank you so much. It's
Man,
been
good seeing you,
a
Ian.
joy, a pleasure. And everybody, too, at the audience, everybody back at home, Paul, Louie.
Thumbs up, Ian.
We're going to wrap it up with this section, but I know, Paul, Louie, you guys have a couple more guests coming on.
We do.
So I'm going to let you get to that. In the meantime, we're going to kind of bow out here for a little bit, but we will catch you there. So, Paul, Louie, take it away.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ian. What a time. That is something. Look at, there he is, Han Solo himself.
That's
Amazing.
An office space.
That was amazing.
That's an office space, right?
I'm startled.
Yeah.
How are you?
Great. Well, we're not done with Sideshow. It's not complete.
We are
We've
not.
got 3 more artists. This is why we were spending. I know some of you had a lot of questions, but we're fitting 9 artists from Sideshow into this presentation. 9. So we put on an endeavor. You saw first time ever at the place. So we've got still 3 more artists to go.
We got one finger shy of 2 hands.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so we're going to have Martin Canale, Danny Bell, and Steve Lord come and join us virtually.
There they are.
There they are. Hey,
There
guys.
they are.
How you doing out there?
Hello, guys.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I know you guys also have things to share, which all 3 of you work for Sideshow as well, but are in different locations of the world working for Sideshow too. So I know Martin and Daniel, you're both in Argentina.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And then Mr. Steve Lord, you're in the U.S.?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Also broadcasting from another secret location. I like that.
It's a very hush-hush location.
No, I appreciate that kind of thing. You got my vote on that one. Thumbs up.
Yeah, so we're going to take time. We're going to give each of them some time to show some stuff that they'd like to do for Sideshow. We're going to be starting with Daniel Bell, and then we'll start with him and move it on to Martin and then into Steve to end the segment.
The hits keep on coming with the Sideshow team.
Yeah,
Take it away,
keep on
Danny Bell.
coming. Daniel, we'll let you take it from here.
Okay, cool. How's it going, guys?
Really good.
Great.
Really good. Thanks for
Love the background too. Love it again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, man. I have my pieces there.
That's the mobile
Some of
Sideshow.
them.
Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Wow. Do you want to start sharing some screen or?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we see it now.
Okay.
We see what you've got.
Okay, I got Batman Dark Knight Returns here. It's a brand new piece. I think we are start delivering this piece very soon. And I would like to share some tips and processes I usually use working with UVs. But I want to give you a look for the piece. This is the decimated version. So you're going to see a little bit more harsh textures and more, let's say, more crisp, because we usually tend to sharp all the entire structures and details to get better results on the print. But this is basically how it looks in ZBrush. This is a huge piece. I think it's 37, 38 inches tall with lightable entirely.
He's 38 inches tall.
I think it is something like
That's
that.
massive. Holy cow.
That's
Yeah.
iconic
huge.
scale right here, and
Yeah.
we're getting a very,
No
very
joke.
sort of early look at this piece. I really appreciate that, by the way, as well. Wow.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's a huge piece. And what's his face? This is pretty much. And one thing some questions I usually receive, it is about the UVs and how I usually tweak the direction of the UV depending of the texture I want to apply. And I found a way to do it. I don't know if it's the best. As you know, ZBrush has many ways to do the same thing. So it's a little bit up to us to find the best process. And one cool thing it is, let's say, for example, that in this case, I have a texture with not any particular pattern. I mean, any vertical lines or horizontal lines. But let's say, for example, that I would like to apply something like with vertical lines or horizontal lines. But in that case, I will have to modify the orientation of the UVs. This is a very simple process, but if you have too many parts, let me jump into another file. Yeah, this is a previous step without the textures and without being decimated. So one of the first thing I do, it is to separate this guy into multiple polygroups. And this is a easy thing to do when you have seam lines. So the UV maps is going to work way better than if you have just an entire leg. It's going to do a kind of not good things. But if you have it separated like in two parts like this, or many parts like the body, it's going to work pretty well. One thing you have to take into account that if you have a super high res meshes, it's going to take too much and sometimes could crash. So what you have to do is decrease your resolution. Maybe you can do is a zero measure and then some projection, and then start working with UV master. And this is the next step. So let's say, for example, we have this guy ready with the polygroups, and then you have to go to C plugin, UV master, and then click on polygroups. So this option is going to make a UVs take into account all the polygroups you have applied. I don't want to click on it because it will take some time, but I have prepared this guy here. So what ZBrush does, it takes your lower resolution and then collapse all together in just one piece. And what you have here, it is if we want to check our UV islands, you have to go to C plugin, UV master, and then flatten.
Good point.
And you're going to see all these UV islands, but it's randomly applied to this UV section. So let's say, for example, that we have this texture, like I said before, like with vertical lines. In order to apply with the same alignment that you want, in this moment, it's not going to work because it's going to look like something like this. Let me show you. We're going to apply a texture with Surface Noise Maker. And as you can see, it's not following the orientation of the legs or maybe, I don't know, the lats or even the torso. So one thing I usually do, it is to create some poly paint, painting some arrows on it. And then that will help me to visualize how it should be in the UV section. Let me quickly do it. So I'm going to turn off the noise maker. Okay, I want to select white color. Then I will fill it up. Okay, cool. Now it's like I don't know any other color with high contrast like red, and start painting the direction. I know maybe it doesn't make any sense right now, but it will do in a couple minutes. Oops, sorry. So I draw this. That's, oops, that's, and the torso. I mean, you can do it without these arrows, but you will have to memorize the colors of your polygroups and the forms of these UV islands. And sometimes it's hard to see it because, I mean, yeah, maybe the torso, it is recognizable, but I don't know if you're going to recognize the bicep or the tricep when it's open, right? So do this, something like that. No. Here, and then over here, and that's it. So if I go and click on flatten again, don't do that because ZBrush is going to apply a color filler again, and you are going to lose this arrow you just draw. So what you have to do, it is go to the texture section, texture map, and click on new from polypaint. So now you have all UV islands with these arrows on it. Mm-hmm. And then you can go to the Z plugin, then flatten, and now you can control-click, drag on it and out, and then select each one.
Great tip.
What a great tip. That's incredible stuff.
Yeah.
I'm high-fiving Paul on this one.
Yeah.
That's the stuff.
Good tip over here, Danny.
Hey, bell.
Man.
Ring the bell. That's the champ right there. What a joy. Who knew?
This saved me a lot of time, you know, because otherwise I have to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to guess, and you know, it's when you have more complicated parts in your body or more polygroups, I don't know, you just will be wasting time if you don't.
Look how easy that is. Oh, boy. What a straight joy. The hits continue here.
Yeah, it's on it. And then.
So you just rotate them all, and then when you throw that texture on, they're all going in the direction you want.
Exactly. So now you have, if your texture is vertical, you have, then you have press on unflatter. And then, of course, this is going to look weird. So off. And then you go to Surface Noise Maker. And then you can see.
There you go.
Perfecto.
Turn off. Perfecto.
Just like that.
Come on.
Just like that. And it is going to save you a lot of time, believe me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Somewhere people are smiling.
That's awesome,
Virtually.
Danny. That's an amazing
thank you,
tip,
guys.
man.
Yeah, man. I hope people find it useful as they do.
Yeah, the chat was enjoying it. I really appreciate that. We're gonna continue moving on and move into Martin too. So stay tuned, though.
Yep.
Yeah, don't tune out. Don't tune out. Stay locked in.
Sharing that tip with us. Let's.
Cuckoo.
Yep. Let's bring Martin in.
Martin
and now
Canale,
Martin's
ladies and
gonna
gentlemen.
share
Tapping the
stuff
keyboards.
with us. There he is. Hey, Martin.
Hello.
Look at his background. These guys are upgrading the backgrounds you guys have. Come on now.
We really need
what
to talk.
What the heck's going
Hold
on?
on a second. We really need to talk about our office attire going
seriously.
forward. Thank you. Take it away, Martin.
Take it away, Martin Canali.
Okay. Thanks for the invitation. First time here, so we'll see how we handle the English.
Excited to have you.
It's fine. It's all good.
It will be fun.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Look at this.
Okay, Mr. Lobo.
Very nice.
So I was here about asking the other artists how many pieces each project have. I try to don't have the account because usually are a lot of days. So this kind of character have a lot of elements and small individual pieces that give you a really fun time to work. But what I want to share is one of the options, what plugin I really enjoy when I'm working with reference. I use pictures, image, a lot of anatomy, image about models, and also as well, I use 3D model scans. So, for example, applying the split screen, I'm using one of the heads from the 3D scan stores. I can use perfectly to start getting an exact idea about what I'm working on.
Yeah,
and
this was
obviously
actually
doing some
something
estilization.
that you brought to us, and you said, "Hey, it would be cool if we had."
I asked, "Hey, is any chance to get something like a split screen?" And you say, "Of course." And here we are.
This is a great example of how you can use split screen. This is from the gentleman, the artist, that said, "Hey, this would be a great idea."
Not the first time, and it won't be the last. Something tells me.
And this is very helpful. I mean, you can have your collage of photography and have some screen overlap on your ZBrush, but usually that takes space from your canvas, so you need to start moving things around. Here, you can have the control about the angle you are using, and you only need to be sure on the beginning that your model is exactly on the same direction and position that your reference. So then you can select the files you want to work and apply the split screen, and then enjoy this magic plugin.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're using a 3D reference in essence. That's what you're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. This is from 3D Scan Store. They have amazing stuff there. All kind of body types.
Wait, what store is it from?
3D Scan Store. He said.
3D Scan Store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here you can see on the small and small name there. So this is a really helpful when you are still. I mean, you can do in some exaggerate or still style set character, but the reference from where you are using need to be right. So other things I would like to show, not related with the split screen, is like I started in traditional. When you start any project, you start playing with the proportions and dimensions. But the first things you do when you start a traditional school is working with the skeleton, right?
Yeah.
So when I make the transition to the digital, I try to figure out how to keep the things that the skeleton gives to you, that is the proportions, and avoiding the asymmetry on the extensions. So what I do is usually make like a quick articulation figure that I make a mock-up pose. And when I get the pose, I like it, I start cleaning a bit, and then I put the skeleton to match with the pose. So what this gives me to me is if that my arms is a little, longer or small than the reference I'm using, I can adjust that easily. But other thing I would like to point is when you play with this kind of character that are super bulky or have besides the size of the muscles, the weight of the bones and the joints, it's good as well to adjust your skeleton. I mean, this is a skeleton that was already adjusted to get really big joints, bones to support all the structure you are working over. So that make easy when you are working on the anatomy, the muscles insertions, get a reference.
That's a great workflow.
So if you are using, this is the adjusted arms, but if I was using a regular skeleton, that would be my proportions from a real skeleton's proportions bones. So what I do is make the adjustment, enlarging the piece and cutting and making one new bones against to get here. So from there, you can start working very easy over the anatomy and the reference where the bones and muscles join. So, for example, with this one, what I do is always get a copy of the original bone, make a duplicate, and play with enlarging the joints till match with the volume I'm wanting to play. And from there, you need to start doing some edits to match.
And then you would build the volumes around this using...
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And this is a skeleton you made too, Martin?
No, this is a generic adjusted edited skeleton. So that is only have the function to give you an idea where you need to locate the muscles and the volumes and to keep the proportions inside the body.
Right.
So
that's pretty awesome.
For this purpose, maybe I use the knife and I select the option radius and I go maybe very low and try to find the erected part of the bones to don't get too much distortion. So I click and I clip and I press Alt to get a clean split between the bones, be done out of groups. And start moving. So trying to get, so here what you have is kind of elephant bones, right? Big animal structure that give you the change to locate giant
another good
muscles
tip.
Over. So
hitting home runs here today, boys.
Yeah.
Dynamesh over and clean up, and you have your giant bones for big guys, especially.
Very nice.
So this is a
and he looks like he's part of the DC metal series playing his bass guitars.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Special
like
one.
It. Beautiful piece.
It's
My God.
glorious.
Look at all that
Glorioso.
you put in that.
Qué bonito.
Gracias.
Nada.
Gracias.
Gracias a ti.
Well, thanks, Martin. That was just incredible.
Please.
2 tips, not just one. He's giving away, like, boop, he's giving away tips left and right over here.
Champion.
All right.
Okay, up next.
Muchas gracias.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Up next, we got Steve Lord.
In the other undisclosed location.
Ready for sharing your tip with us of how you're using ZBrush with its Sideshow.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
This is a in-house piece that I worked on at Sideshow. It was a lot of fun. And a great team effort. And I tend to use all the basic brushes, very few special brushes or anything. I keep it very simple, my workflow. And that should, I'm going to go over a few of it right now, and that should help you guys who are starting out not feel so overwhelmed, because you can create detailed pieces like this with just a few brushes. It's doable.
That's gorgeous, Steve.
It's really, really nice, Steve.
Beautiful piece.
And so I'll just start out with with an arm right here. Like here are the basic, show you just some simple shapes. I think I just used the initialized cube, push and pulled those to get those diamond shapes. I forget how I got the ribbon here. It might have been, I think I just used not curved flat strap. The other, where's it at? Actually, yeah. I think I used that and then extrude it out. Let's just. Yeah, so you have that. Then you can just extrude that out. And it's pretty simple. I try and keep my workflow very, very easy, not too complicated. And then here's the inside piece. And to do this freeform stuff, what I started out with is just poly painting on it. Yeah, this is just basically a cylinder at first, and just did some quick designs. I was just doing this kind of thing, and then, following that with the designs on it. And then once you have those two pieces, I kind of like where I was going with that. Then I would Dynamesh them together. And everyone always jokes that I like the Dynamesh king. All I do is Dynamesh because it's, for me, as a starting out as a traditional sculptor, it's the most back to that type of workflow. I'm not like the other guys. There's a lot of technical stuff that kind of hurts my head. So I try and keep it as
simple,
base as possible.
Yeah.
And so, you have let's see, so you can see it, very, very simple. Turn off perspective. And so once I got to this point, my brushes I use clay tubes, and right out of the box, clay tubes and a lot of these other brushes, there might be some issues. So I go to stroke, go to modifier. I bring in the roll distance up to about 3 or 4. That smooths it out. And then if you have lazy mouse, you got to be careful because you want to bring this down, because this number here will make it a little choppy if it's too high. So you got to be careful about that. So I keep roll distance about 3 or 4. Turn off. I wonder why that's not. Let me bring up a new document. There we go. So you can work on that, clean this up. And you can get texture very, very quick this way. And I like to use the layer brush. and to bring in more texture. And this is just a stock image of like peeling paint. You know, you can pretty much use any image to create some sort of texture. And so I'll just bring this into my alpha, bring in a radial fade about 13, bring my intensity down so it kind of flattens it so it doesn't, so it's not rounded in the brighter it is in the center will make it rounder on here. So I try and flatten that out. So you can just bring that in. And, also back face mask helps so you don't get some weirdness if it's a bigger piece, because if you don't have that, it'll show on the other side sometimes. So you can get some really good texture, like really fast.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's very nice.
And then, you know, if you want to keep going down a rabbit hole, you can go to your masking, go mask by smoothness. Yeah. And then, you know, mess with those, all that stuff. You can all invert it. And then you can get, you know, you can mess with your edges. So it looks a little more banged up on the edges.
That's real slick.
That's a sneaky masculine I like to use a lot.
Me too.
Don't think a lot of people use it.
Oh, I live and die by it.
You can get a lot done like very quickly.
The tips are just flying off the shelf right now from the Sideshow team. Just flying off the shelf.
Consider broadcasting around the globe for free here. This is amazing.
And here's, you can even use like hair.
Is that a porcupine hair? What was that? Or just normal?
You know, this kind of fur, you know.
As long as it's not a skunk, we're happy.
That's a good spot.
You know, sometimes if, you know, I like to call it, it's the cheap way of doing it, kind of spray and pray. You don't know what you're going to get. But, you know, you can get, a lot of decent texture with pretty much, you know, any image. Let's bring up another image here. Here's some pebbles. I'll do a drag direct, see what that does. And then you can mix and match. And when you're doing 3D printing, you want to, like, I think Danny and the guys hit on it, you want to exaggerate your texture, because you're probably going to lose about, I don't know, maybe 30%, probably more, depending, when the final thing is all done. So, you know, it might not look right. You might think, oh, that's too much. But by the time it's done and like product, you're gonna see, you know, that it comes through. So that's a quick way to show you how you can put some quick texture on some great things. Actually, here's Damn Standard. Here's another good one I use. And
he's going to be here with us today.
Yes, Damien Canderlay's here today with us.
And I'll Dynamesh it again. So you can do more layers of interesting stuff.
Steve, that was phenomenal.
So, cool.
That is, I think we're out of time, and I think that we're going to bring everybody back. Steve Lord.
Well, just in time.
Just in time.
Steve, that was awesome.
Paul, I'm going to steal. Steve, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to steal that line. Spray and pray. It'll stay with me. Of my career at this point.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Well, everyone's back.
Paul Gabry, wave to the people. Yeah, we are. Wave to these guys. Start waving at these guys. Everybody's back for the Sideshow Collectibles presentation. Ian Robinson, our on-site correspondent, did an amazing job. Louis Tucci, Paul Gabry here, the whole team at Sideshow. Really want to thank all of you for everything you presented today. It was phenomenal. It was informative. Everybody's waving. We're having the time of our lives here. Tips galore. We had Aaron McNaught, Alfred Paredes, Danny Bell, Martin Canale, Matthew Black, Michael Woodring, Steve Schumacher, and last but not least, Steve Lord. And I can't tell you enough. I mean, it's a great joy to have been here inside the catacombs of Sideshow Collectibles. Thank you, everybody. Wave goodbye, Paul, one more time. Blow them a smooch.
Thank you so much, everybody. Martin, Steve, Danny. Ian, tell everyone thanks. You're the only one that can hear us, I think.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for
Tell them
everything.
thank you.
Bye.
Seriously.